The Democrat of the day represents in the Minnesota House currently 41B. Mary Kunesh-Podein is kind enough to join us today to not only talk about her House seat and how she's been working there in the legislature, but her campaign to become the senator from Senate District 41. Representative, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me on today.
My pleasure. And can I just say, I'm kind of geeky happy because there are politicians in the state I like, and then there are politicians I love. You are one of those I love. I think you do so much good work over in the state capitol. I am really glad you're there in the House, and I'm also really glad you're going to think about running here for the Senate.
Wow. Well, thanks very much. I'm really excited to join this next adventure and take some of the good stuff that I've been doing in the House and take it over to the Senate. I think they could use some fresh ideas and some fresh energy, and love to be able to do that.
Let's actually focus the first part of our talk here, though, on the House. Let's look back on last year. I want one thing that you're really happy you got done last year and one thing that you're very upset that you didn't get done last year. How about we start there?
Wow, I got a lot of good things done, but I think probably my most proud moment was when we passed the task force to create the task force for missing and murdered Indigenous women.
Yes,
that has been of course, a national tragedy since white man stepped on this continent or any continent, and in just really 2 short years, we were able to pass that. 100% bipartisan support both in the House and the Senate, and we started working on that in the committee in the task force this summer, and it's been a great experience so far. I think we're going to come out with some really good recommendations on how to improve not just Native American communities, but all of Minnesota in general.
And just one thing, if I can focus on that, because I'm so happy you did, because it is astounding that was not addressed earlier. And you did a lot of great work on that. A lot of people have been doing on this. But there is an epidemic of missing and endangered Native American women across this country. And it's almost as if, the continuation of the standard, just kind of shrug your shoulders and say, what can you do? And for goodness sakes, we have to help these people if no one else is going to. And I'm so glad we're finally stepping up and doing that.
Yeah. It is, it's an endemic from historical times when there was the intentional genocide of the indigenous people, the theft of and cheating of the land.
Yes.
There actually, if you go back and study the doctrine of discovery, and then the whole notion that it's the United States is part of manifest destiny, and they actually ordered soldiers that when they went into a village and just like slaughtered all the men, then go back and slaughter all the women and the children, because the women and the children are the next generation. And that really sets the message that women in particular are kind of a throwaway part of our society. And then all the promises that were made to those that were able to survive, of course, we never kept those promises. And so the women are basically, in many ways seen as disposable. And because of the confusion of jurisdictions, who's responsible for the policing or the patrolling? Is it the reservation police, the county, the federal government? Very confusing. So those are some of the things that we're trying to sort out in the task force, and hopefully, that will end the whole disposable attitude for Native American women and men and boys and Two-Spirit, who are the LGBTQ community in our communities. But it'll also naturally extend to entire communities of people who are easy victims and have very little recourse to any kind of protection because they just haven't been seen as valued members of our society. It's a whole mind shift, that's for sure.
It's the entire concept of why we have a government. It's supposed to be there to protect the people, and we were in it failing. But yes, it's a good step forward. Hopefully, these task forces can work a little bit better. How about one thing from last session that you wanted to see get done, but just didn't happen for whatever reason?
Well, I would have really have loved to see some more of the protections around our pharmaceutical, the medications, the high cost of medications, specifically with the insulin costs.
Mm-hmm.
My family is plagued with diabetes for genetic reasons and health reasons, and because we didn't put in stronger controls, the companies are still able to charge that exorbitant amount. And yes, some have agreed to price limits, but the fact of the matter is that they shouldn't have done that or increased by 600, 700% on insulin when nothing changed. There was no shortage. There was no formula change. It's the same thing that people have been using for decades, and it was price gouging. And now folks want to kind of pat the pharmaceuticals on the back for those that are agreeing to price limits when, they took full advantage of that. So some of those prescription drug price gouging was really disappointing, as well as the inability to hold pharmaceutical companies accountable.
Yeah.
I think that was really a tough one.
Yeah, emergency insulin, by goodness, that was something that we needed to get past. But, the reason those prices are high, they got to buy off Republicans. That's me saying it. That's me saying it. No one else. No, that's not me. No one else said it. That was me saying it. They're not cheap. So, that's kind of the way it is. You always need that 17th jet ski. All right. Yeah, I know that the Democrats, as we're looking into the 2020 session, the 2020 year here, that they're already throwing. You guys have got a really good game plan in the House right now, and you've really thrown down the gauntlet. You've come out with basically a rallying cry for this year, correct?
Yeah. We we spent the entire summer since last session traveling around the state, listening to Minnesotans in all different areas. Health, education, transportation, bonding, all of those areas, and came up with a top 10 list of the legislation we want to focus on and get passed. And of course, our kids are always one of the most important things. And so, the first two items are going to be around great starts for all of Minnesota's kids, so early education, K-12 support. Those areas are really suffering. I'm a teacher myself. I just finished, stepped out of the classroom a week ago, and it's tough when you see the struggles that our families are going through. And a lot of that is around the high cost of health care, so we're going to address that. We already talked about prescription drug gouging, but paid family and medical leave is really important so that families and parents are able to take care of their loved ones when they're sick. Last year, we passed some of the strongest wage theft prevention, and this year we'll go back and tighten that up and do more enforcement around that. I am a library media specialist, so access to information is so important, and so Representative Eklund is going to be carrying a really strong bill around rural broadband expansion.
Good.
Other thing that we're really worried about, of course, is keeping guns out of the hands of the people who are dangerous, and tightening up those criminal background checks, and Representative Richardson is carrying a bill around preventing gun violence through extreme risk protection orders. And our strong Representative Mahler, who is an advocate for women and violence prevention, is going to be carrying a bill that's focused on protecting Minnesotans from sexual harassment. So those are kind of our top 10 bills of the 2019 session. We have our caucus today, our DFL caucus. All the legislators are here, and we're all exchanging the green jacket bills that we're all going to be carrying, and working really hard to make sure we put in some good programs and good sources for all of Minnesota.
Of course, Representative Mary Kunesh-Podein joining us right now. I want to touch on one quick last thing, just as one of the reasons why you kind of are a favorite to me is that you work. You mentioned briefly that when you're not in St. Paul, that you work in media centers in the Robbins, I believe it was Robbinsdale School District.
Yep.
And as a parent of 3 kids, I can't tell you there's a lot of great teachers out there, but the entire support system within a school, how many times that you'll suggest a book to a kid and you encourage that reading. The reason why our schools in Minnesota are so great is it goes way beyond not just the top-notch teachers we have, but it's the top-notch support system there. And that's another thing I love about people that work in the school libraries and the support staff as well, that there is there's just, you guys do first of all, you're on the front line of education there, but as well, you kind of fill in those gaps for those kids and their education system, and you get them into reading, you get them into technology. You do a lot of great work there, and I'm so happy that we're getting people with your career background into the Capitol. That is a definite plus.
Wow, thanks a lot. And it is really one of the reasons that I ran for office, hoping to make a change in our education system and other ways that we support our families. 25 years ago, I was a recipient of welfare. I was getting cash grants as well as food stamps. It's a long story, but for about 1.5 years, I was a recipient. Last year, I carried a bill that increased the MPIB cash grant by $100 a month. So as of last year, families who were struggling were receiving the same amount of cash grant that I received 25 years ago. And when I heard that made me crazy. And within last session, we were able to increase that by $100. And those are the kind of support systems that I felt were really important, and I was glad to be able to carry that. But those are also the support systems that we need to shore up in our schools, in our classroom, with the rise in mental health issues, the issues around homelessness and lack of medical attention for our students. And you can't expect a kid to come to school ready to learn when they're worried about where they're going to sleep that night, or they're coming with an empty tummy, or there are things in the community that really lay heavy on their mind. And so hopefully we'll be able to address some of those other issues in our schools. And I do have to say, like our educational assistants and our paras, our schools could not manage without all of them. And they make my job so much better. And it's always hard to leave school and come to the house, but I always think I'm there to work on their behalf, and so it's my pleasure.
You made the decision. 41B is the House seat you're currently in, but you are going to run this election cycle for the Senate District 41, correct?
Yeah. Yep. My Senator Carolyn Lane has decided to retire. She's got a lot of family that are aging, adult children who need help with their families and loved ones. So she's decided not to run again. And when she decided to run for Senate, I actually was elected into her seat, so I'm kind of following in her footsteps once again. Yeah.
Well, and it would, and everyone, you're listening to the representative here. Dear Lord, isn't this the kind of people we need in St. Paul? We don't need people who are basically only looking at holding a political office to fill out a Rolodex so they can make some contacts after they're done with their political career. We have people that have real world experience, that have the brass tacks to go in there and be able to talk authoritatively about such varying issues as welfare and education and missing indigenous women. For goodness sakes, this is what, and I will agree with you on one thing. Holy God, do we need to get you up into the Senate? We have to get you into the Senate.
Well, it's going to be an interesting change next year. I'm hoping that I will be elected. I'm hoping that I will be elected to a majority, a DFL majority in the Senate. And obviously there will be new leadership. And, there's so many women that are running for Senate seats also. So it'd be kind of cool to go in with a bunch of new women and shake things up a little bit, bring in a new perspective, perhaps adjust the priorities. And if we're in the majority and the House is in the majority and we've got Governor Walz, there are some really super incredible things that we'll be able to do for Minnesotans. So very excited.
To help the representative get into the Senate, obviously her campaign needs help. And people knocking on doors, making phone calls, making donations, anything you can do. Senate District 41, Mary Kunesh-Podein. Once again, the web address here for your Senate campaign is KUNESH-PODEIN.com. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, go there. Sign up, volunteer, help if you can, and let's make sure we keep Senate District 41 in the DFL's hands. Representative, I can't tell you what a pleasure it is. I also should mention Robert Pilot called to tell us that if you want to hear more updates from Robert, his show on the weekends here, you can listen to his weekend show. He has updates from the representative as well. So you're well covered here, Democrat of the Day.
Oh, yeah, it's so much fun being on Native Roots Radio on Saturdays. I get to pick whatever topic I want to talk about. And Robert is always so gracious to allow me to do that. So that's been another really fun thing that's happened since I've been elected.
Representative Mary Kunesh-Podein, kind enough to join us today, Democrat of the Day, Senate race, once again, Senate District 41. I'll put up the links on both the social media pages. Representative, thank you very much. I appreciate the time today.
Thank you.
My pleasure.